The impetus' greatest regret, the silent war for centuries. The Galactic Empire had ruled with an iron fist, its fleets blotting out the stars, its armies crushing resistance before rebellion could take root. It was the unquestioned master of the known universe, until humanity came. At first, humans were just another species to be conquered. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and lacked the sheer scale of the empire. Yet, something about them unsettled the High Council. Their adaptability, their defiance, their uncanny ability to win wars they had no business surviving. When the Empire first attacked Earth's outer colonies, humanity responded with calculated patience, retreating when necessary, striking when opportunity arose. What should have been a swift conquest stretched into a bitter war spanning decades. It was not humanity's strength that made the difference. It was something far worse. It was their resolve. The child of wrath. The turning point came not on the battlefield, but in a dark imperial prison on the world of Kabat Prime. Among the countless captives, one prisoner stood out, a boy, no more than 12. The Empire never learned his real name. They only knew his designation, Prisoner 96A. The High Lords ordered his interrogation, believing he was the son of a high-ranking human general. They wanted leverage. Instead, they got horror. For weeks, the child endured the worst tortures the Empire could devise. They broke bones, burned flesh, and subjected him to unspeakable agony. But no matter what they did, the boy never screamed. He never spoke. He never surrendered, and then, one day, he died. The guards disposed of the body without a second thought. Just another broken human. Just another victory for the Empire. 30 minutes later, he returned. The corpse of the boy rose from the cell floor, his eyes burning with an unnatural fire. His wounds sealed before the guards' eyes, and when he stepped forward, the lights flickered and died. The screams of his tormentors echoed through the halls. The rise of the Revenant word spread like wildfire. The child, now known only as the Revenant, was no longer human, if he ever had been. It became a myth whispered among soldiers, a ghost lurking in the impetus shadow. No matter how many times he was killed, he always returned. Entire battalions sent to eliminate him vanished. Fleet admirals, warlords, even the High Lords themselves found their throats slit in the dead of night. Imperial strongholds burned to the ground, their defenders reduced to charred husks. It was not an army that turned the tide against the Empire. It was one boy. One relentless, undying nightmare. The reckoning. The Galactic Emperor, a being who had lived for millennia, finally knew fear. He ordered every resource, every fleet, every weapon to be turned against the Revenant. Worlds burned in a desperate bid to destroy him. Millions perished in the crossfire. Nothing worked. The Revenant was not seeking victory. It was seeking vengeance. When he finally stood before the Emperor, the once mighty ruler of the stars fell to his knees. The Revenant said nothing. He simply watched as the Emperor wept, realizing that this war, this conquest, this empire, everything, had led to this moment. The last thing the Emperor saw was the child's burning eyes. The Empire's greatest regret. The Empire did not collapse overnight. It rotted from within, its armies shattered, its people terrified of the thing that could never die. The Revenant did not rule. He did not conquer. He simply never stopped hunting. 1 by E1, those who had ordered his suffering fell. The High Lords. The warlords. The last remnants of imperial power. And as the centuries passed, the once mighty empire faded into legend, its legacy one of terror and ruin, all because of one mistake. 1 child. 1 regret. The conqueror's blindness. The Galactic Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, broken millions of civilizations, and bent the very fabric of the universe to its will. It was a behemoth of bureaucracy, military might, and unyielding doctrine. The emperors came and went, but the empire endured. It was eternal. Or so they believed, but history would remember the empire for one fatal mistake, a single act of arrogance that would shake the cosmos to its core. His name was Elias Voss, and he was the impetus' greatest regret. The crime the world of Kalis IV was nothing more than another conquest. A planet rich in natural resources, home to a resilient but ultimately primitive human colony. The Empire had given them an ultimatum: surrender and assimilate or be purged. The humans of Kalis IV refused, and so, the Empire made an example of them. The bombardment lasted 7 days and 7 nights. Cities turned to ash. Skies burned red. Millions perished. Among the dead were the Voss family, simple farmers who had once believed the Impetus rule was a distant concern. They had no armies, no warships, no politics. Only their son Elias, a soldier stationed off-world, had the means to fight. By the time he returned, it was too late. His family was gone. His home reduced to a blackened wasteland. The official Empire reports declared Kalis IV had been pacified. Elias saw only murder. The ghost of vengeance. Elias Voss had once been one of the Impetus' own, an elite officer in the Imperial Special Forces, a loyal enforcer of their will. But loyalty was a fragile thing. The day Kalis IV burned, something inside him snapped. He vanished from Imperial records. His former commanders believed him dead, another casualty of war, but the truth was far worse. Elias didn't die. He transformed. For 10 years, he built something in the shadows. A resistance? No rebellion? Not quite. He built a legend. Whispers spread across the outer rim. Stories of an unstoppable phantom, a man who could strike from nowhere and disappear without a trace. Imperial warships would vanish in deep space, entire garrisons wiped out overnight. Governors were found hanging from their own banners, their throats slit with military precision. The Empire dismissed it as piracy, terrorism, anarchists. They did not see the pattern, they did not recognize the work of one man. Until it was too late, the war the Empire feared. Elias Voss did not seek to conquer. He sought to erase. His war was not about revolution, it was about retribution. It hacked into imperial networks, exposing the atrocities the Empire had long buried. He turned entire fleets against one another, playing admirals and generals like pieces on a chessboard. But his greatest stroke came when he took Solus Prime, the Impetus' most fortified military station. No army should have been able to breach it, but Elias wasn't an army. He was vengeance made manifest. He infiltrated the station, dismantled its defenses from within, and broadcast the execution of its commanders across every imperial channel. Millions watched as the once mighty leaders of Solus Prime begged for mercy, mercy the Empire had never given. It was the moment that shattered the illusion of imperial invincibility. The Outer Rim rose in rebellion. The core worlds questioned their loyalty. The Empire bled. The Emperor's plea. The war dragged on for years. The Empire threw everything they had at Elias Voss. Fleets. Armies. Assassins. None of it mattered. Every time they thought they had him cornered, he slipped away. Every time they struck a victory, he made them pay in blood. And then came the moment of desperation. The Emperor himself, mighty, untouchable, infallible, sent a personal envoy. A message, transmitted across the stars: Elias Voss. Name your price. The Empire, the unbreakable force that had ruled for millennia, was begging for peace. Voss's answer was simple: you burned my world. You murdered my family. I do not want peace. I want an empire that regrets. The regret that would never end. And regret the Empire did. In its final days, as its banners fell and its fleets turned to rust, one name haunted the remnants of its once mighty rule: not an emperor, not a warlord, but a man they should have never made an enemy. Elias Voss. The Empire had conquered billions. It had destroyed entire civilizations, but in the end, its greatest regret was one man who would not forgive, and because of that, the Empire did what none had ever believed possible. It died, not in a grand battle, not in a noble surrender, but in the slow, creeping realization that all of its might had meant nothing in the face of a single, unrelenting ghost. The Empire ended, and history never forgave it. The Impetus' greatest regret was not its wars, not its atrocities, not its conquests. Its greatest regret was Elias Voss. The Galactic Empire was vast. It ruled with an iron fist, stretching its influence across countless star systems. It crushed rebellions before they could rise, subdued species before they could resist, and burned civilizations that dared defy its will. But there was one mistake, one miscalculation, that haunted the empire for centuries. A single moment of arrogance that would echo through the annals of history. The Impetus' greatest regret was not the planets it had raised, nor the billions it had enslaved. It was the day they decided to execute a single man. Chapter 1. The trial of Elias Cain. Elias Cain stood before the high tribunal of the empire, hands bound in no metal shackles. A man of imposing presence, his sharp features and piercing gray eyes bore no fear. His reputation preceded him, the architect of human resistance, the mastermind behind countless victories against the empire. He had been a thorn in the Impetus' side for years, a ghost in the shadows, a legend whispered among soldiers. But now, he was captured. The emperor himself presided over the trial, draped in golden robes, his face concealed behind a ceremonial mask. Elias Cain, his